Waipio, Mililani neighborhood north. Let's begin tonight, Wednesday, November 27th. By standing, if you are able to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, thank you everyone for being here tonight. I do realize that it is the night before Thanksgiving, so I absolutely hope that this is a short meeting. And I do appreciate everyone's attendance tonight, the night before Thanksgiving, while we have turkeys and pies and cranberry sauce to attend to. I do want to remind everyone that this is a hybrid meeting, so there will be participants both online and in person at this meeting. So I'll kindly raise your hand if you'd like to be recognized by the chair. For those in person from the public, please step up to this microphone, state your name for the record, and proceed with any questions or comments that you may have. A friendly reminder to board members to raise your hand so I can recognize you both online and in person, and direct your questions to the presenters. Okay, with that public notice, I would like to recognize our neighborhood assistant, Rachel Cristobal, to establish roll call and quorum. Thank you.
Are you guys able to hear me? Okay, oh, there we go. Okay. So when I state your name, please let me know if you're present. Rana? Among? I see Among over there, present. Thank you. Bass?
Present.
Thank you. Hermione? Dal? Present. Flores? Present. Freed? Gustafson? Present. Kanehe? Present. And then, let's see, Kaapanaaki? Kim? Present. Kupuka? Darsha Lee? I thought I saw her online. Let me just double check. Okay. Marilyn Lee? Present. Nagamine?
Here.
Okay, and then I see Anne Fried here. And then let's see, Nagamine?
Here.
Thank you. Ozawa? Park?
Here. Online.
Thank you. Ross?
Here.
Sakura? Oh, Ross is online. Thank you. And then I see Sakura online as well,
Present
too.
online, yeah.
Thank you. Mary Smart?
Present.
Present. Okay. Cersina?
Present.
Thank you. Trotter? Williams? Okay, let me just double check this real quick. Okay, we have 15 members present.
Right. Thank you so much, Rachel. Let's begin with the monthly reports. I see that HFD is here. Please proceed with your report. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jordan Taniyama. I'm the acting captain at the Mililani Fire Station today. So I'm going to go over some statistics, some fire safety tips, and field some questions. So statistics for October 2024, we had 2 structure fires, 8 wildland or brush fires, 1 cooking fire, 7 activated of alarms, which resulted in no fire. We had 75 medical emergencies, 2 motor vehicle accidents, and 1 hazardous material incident. Our fire safety tip for the month regards to kitchen and cooking safety. Cooking is the leading cause of home fires. Protect yourself, your family, and your neighborhood by practicing these prevention tips. For more information, visit fire.honolulu.gov. Some of the tips include: stay in the kitchen while you're cooking. Do not leave the cooking unattended. Keep items such as oven mitts, wooden utensils, towels, etc. away from the stovetop, even when the stove is off. Never store items on top of the stove or cooktop and inside the oven. Keep a lid nearby to smother small grease fires. Smother the fire by sliding a lid over the pan and turning the stove off. And only plug one heat-producing appliance, such as a coffee maker, toaster, etc., into an outlet at a time. That's it for our safety tips, and I'll be fielding any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you so much. Members and members of the public, are there any questions for Honolulu Fire Department at this time? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much.
All right,
I
have
hope
a
it's
happy
quiet
Thanksgiving, guys.
weekend for you folks. Stay safe. Next up, we have HPD. Welcome.
Aloha, Lieutenant Romel Baisa, Honolulu Police Department from the Waipio Police Station. Reporting for the month of November for calls for service, we had about 699 calls for service in the Mililani area. Out of that, 2 are for assaults, 2 for burglaries, 0 robberies, and 2 for car break-ins, UMVs, unauthorized entry into motor vehicles. For safety tips, being that the holidays are coming up, we got some shopping safety tips for you guys. So stay alert and be aware of what's going on around you. Be vigilant. Look around when you guys are shopping, when you guys are walking to and from your cars. Park in well-lit spaces and be sure to lock your cars, close your windows, and hide any shopping bags and gifts in the trunk. Avoid carrying large amounts of cash. Pay with either a check, credit card, or your payphone, or not payphone, PayPal through your phone whenever possible. Deter pickpockets and purse snatchers. Don't overburden yourself with carrying too many packages, and then be extra careful making sure that you clutch your bags and purses close to your person. And if you're shopping with children, make sure you teach them to go to a store clerk, security guard, or a responsible adult if you guys should be separated. That's all I got. I'll be open to questions.
Members of the public, members of the board, are there any questions for Honolulu Police Department tonight? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hope it's a quiet weekend for you guys
Yeah,
as well.
yes, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Next up, we have the United States Army Combat Aviation Brigade 25th ID. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. So a couple announcements. The last job fair was November. We don't have one for December, but you can always apply online at himwr.com and just click on the employment banner to hear about all of our openings, and you can apply right there on the website. The Waikiki Holiday Parade is Friday, November 29th. It commemorates Pearl Harbor by honoring survivors and veterans in memory of the attacks from December 7th, 1941. And then the 83rd anniversary of the National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day commemoration is going to be held on December 7th at the Pearl Harbor Visitor Center. And the ceremony will begin at 7:45 a.m. for anyone interested in attending. There will also be a public ceremony at Kuroda Field at Fusi and Parade. The times for this event will be from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then I have the training advisory for the month of December. So December 2nd through the 6th and the 9th through the 13th, you can expect artillery and mortar live fire training on Schofield Barracks from 5 a.m. to midnight. December 14th to the 15th, you can expect demolition training from 6 a.m. to midnight. Between the 2nd to the 14th and the 16th to the 20th, out at East Range Training Area, you can expect range and jungle tactics, which is just going to consist of small arms blank fires. That's from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. And then December 1st through the 3rd, as well as the 9th through the 13th, out at East Range, there'll be the Air Assault School. They'll have a class going on, which includes aviation training. That's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. I had some emailed RFIs from Skylar Ross. Question number 1, this is in reference to the rubbish dumping that we had referenced in a meeting a few months ago. The question was, can you please follow up on what happened last time when the cleanup was completed? And then, are you the point of contact to have it cleaned up, or does another service do this? My answer, U.S. Army Garrison is aware that this area historically has become a gathering place for rubbish. We have determined that this is an easement owned and maintained by the city and county of Honolulu and is not property of the Army. The city and county of Honolulu went out and cleaned up the area because it is their easement. U.S. Army Garrison also appreciates and hard work the CNC to help maintain areas that are notoriously burdened by all the rubbish dumped by people who do not care what piece of property they are discarding their rubbish on. We'd ask that the community report any illegal dumping to the city and the county of Honolulu at 808-768-3203 or by emailing illegaldumping@honolulu.gov. Question 2, can you please explain how often military police review this location with inspections? Your predecessor explained that this area was patrolled on a certain basis but did not know their schedule. U.S. Army Garrison does not forecast when and where our patrols will be for force protection or security services. In general, however, the military police patrols have specific beats which they routinely work to ensure safety and welfare of our Army families and soldiers. The area you are speaking of is a non-populated Army parcel adjacent to the CNC easement along Kamehameha Highway. There are no soldiers or families living here. However, we do have to maintain security on facilities, gates, and access points. The military police patrol this area to ensure physical security. They do not patrol the area for maintenance purposes. If they see rubbish, they will report it to the maintenance department. Additionally, following the last cleanup where we teamed up with Representative Trish LaChica and the city and county approximately 9 months ago, the Army repaired the gate to this easement area and added what we call an iron maiden or an iron crossbar to prevent vehicular traffic. Again, proactive on the Army's part to secure and safeguard the property. And the final question was, can you please explain how Army Hawaii Family Housing LLC trash cans and trash are now piling up at this location? The photo of the trash can provided to us by the board member Ross is likely 10 to 15 years old, no longer belongs to the Army, despite the painted logo on the receptacle. Between 2005 and 2010, Army Family Housing changed their corporate name and acquired new owners. Therefore, the naming convention changed as well. Old trash receptacles were either donated to local nonprofits or sold to the public through GSA/DRMO, Defense Reutilization Marketing Office, now called Disposition Services. The privatized housing office called Island Palm Communities no longer has these bins and has not had these bins for more than a decade. The bin must have been dumped along with all of the other rubbish. That's my RFI answers to what we were asked over email. But I open up the board if there's any other questions.
Thank you, Captain. Members of the board, members of the public, are there any questions? I see Member Ross with his hand up. Please proceed, Member Ross.
First off, congratulations. Now Captain Block, glad to see you got promoted. And thank you for answering all of my questions. Yeah, this is going to be probably a notorious thing, so we'll probably have to continue to reach out to the city and county for any kind of further dumping. Thank you so much for your help in this matter and for answering all my questions.
For sure.
I do have a follow-up question. Given the confusion between U.S. Army and city and county in relation to that particular easement and that dumping site, my question is, if there are communications from Mililani residents, general residents of the area, about dumping over there, and it is related to the United States Army Garrison, would Army Garrison forward that on to City and County of Honolulu as well, just for efficiency's sake?
I believe so now, and there's actually the GIS team at Schofield is working on producing a map that's going to show the actual line of where the property is owned by the Army versus the city and the county. Once we have that, I can forward that to you, and then we can go from there. But yeah, definitely would have those forwarded to the city and county now that we know that that's for sure their land.
And the line is where Iron Maiden is?
Correct, where the fence line is.
Great,
Yep.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Appreciate it.
next up, we have the Board of Water Supply members, or actually not members. Kathleen, welcome.
Aloha. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. No main breaks to report for your community. We are also recruiting, if you're interested in coming to work for us, boardofwatersupply.com/jobs. We have jobs in many different areas. You don't have to put pipe in the ground or be a civil engineer. You can be like me, just a regular person. Any questions?
Members of the board, members of the audience, are there any questions for the Honolulu Board of Water Supply at this time? Seeing and hearing none, thank you. Have a wonderful
I
holiday
will.
weekend.
Thank you.
Next up, we have, wow, we're making great time, folks. It's 7:46 and we're on to presentations. I'd like to welcome Mr. Ren Westcott of Long Road Energy, who will be providing us a 5-minute update on the Mahi Solar Photovoltaic Project in Guinea. Welcome, Ren.
Thank you very much. Thank you, board members and members of the public. My name is Ren Westcott. I work for Long Road Energy. I develop renewable energy projects. I am originally from Molokai and I live in Manoa, and had trouble finding this building because I'm such a townie. Made it though, finally. I asked one of the students and they're like, H building, I got you. Help me over here. I said, okay, thank you. The Mahi Solar Project is a 120 megawatt solar project with battery storage that's proposed in Kunia. The total project is going to be about 500 acres. We normally start with this slide to remind folks about the importance of as our climate changes, there's lots of impacts. So folks like me work on, there's many different ways people attack it. What I work on is my company and I develop energy projects and like solar or wind, and we sell that electricity to Hawaiian Electric. And that, once it goes onto the grid, it becomes part of the energy that powers the lights here and in all of your homes. Wherever the project is located on the island, it connects to the same grid, and that energy goes to everybody's homes, businesses, schools, etc. So we can go on. Currently, Oahu is about 29.6% renewable. We're trying to get to 100% by 2045. That's a state law. Hawaiian Electric selected 3 solar projects in their last request for proposals on Oahu, and Mahi Solar is one of those. It was selected previously, but because of the supply chain crisis after the pandemic, we had to cancel the project and had to restart. So I presented about this project probably 5 or 6 times to this board. So this is kind of just a refresh. It's really the same project we were proposing before, and I'll give you kind of the highlights. Go ahead. Thank you. So this is a map that shows the location. The project is, as you go Mauka on Kunia Road, it's on the Waianae side of the road, past Royal Kunia, before you get to the Hark site, the old Del Monte Cannery. So it is currently agriculture land. It's owned by Fatlaw Farms, Bayer, formerly Monsanto, and then Long Road Energy, our company, purchased some. Total site is a little over 600 acres, and we're going to be, ideally, we'll be going through permitting in the next, we're working with HECO right now on the contract. We'll be going through permitting in the next year, and then ideally we'll start construction in 2026 and complete by the end of 2027. Let's see if there's anything. One of the important things, because it's agricultural land, we're also going to be doing farming and ranching on the solar site. So this is the term for this is that people say is agrivoltaics, combining agriculture with solar, and we'll be doing that throughout the entire site. We already have about 50 acres that's going to be farmed lettuce in between the solar rows of solar panels, and we're talking with some other folks about other types of farming so that we can use the land for energy and agriculture. Next slide, please. This is done in several different areas. Agrivoltaics, you see sort of sheep on the lower right-hand side there. A lot of solar projects. A few here actually have sheep that graze between the solar panels. but we're experimenting with different kinds of plants. We've been pretty successful. Next slide shows some examples. One more. I think I have pictures. Okay, there you go. Yeah, on the left-hand side is some lettuce that's grown in hydroponic troughs in between the solar panels. And then we've also done broccoli, Swiss chard, kalo, several other types of crops, as well as some different flowers, ornamental flowers, and other things to try and figure out what grows well under solar panels. Partial shade, doesn't get too tall. And so that's kind of this Mahi Solar is going to be the biggest solar project in the state. And it will also feature a lot of this agrivoltaic work that we haven't really seen before. Next slide, please. This is a timeline of when we're aiming to get the project completed. Over on the far lower right-hand corner is the end of 2027, when after we complete construction, we should have the project connected to HECO and they go through all their testing, and we're hoping to be live and providing power by the end of 2027. This is a list of studies that we did previously. These were done several years ago. We did a biological study, archaeological, traffic, reflectivity. The interesting thing about this site is it's way over in Kunia, but part of it is in the Mililani board district. So it is part of the land that this board oversees. Part of it is in the Kapolei neighborhood board district. And both communities are really far from the site. So every time I go and present, they're like, where is it? Kapolei is like, why are you even here? The closest board is Waipahu. I've talked to them, but it's not in their district at all. So it's kind of an interesting location. Next slide, please. This is a list of the different permits we got. The one we just completed was with the State Land Use Commission. They had a look through, they were especially interested in, because we're using agricultural land, what were we going to do with it in agriculture? So we had been approved by them in 2021. We had to go for an extension, a 5-year extension, just this past year, and that was approved. So they will be the ones kind of monitoring to make sure that between them and city and county that we are doing our agricultural activity according to our permit. Next slide. Project impact, in addition to the energy, we'll also be creating, it will produce enough energy for about 40,000 homes. So it is, will be, like I said, the large, by double, it will be the largest solar project in the state. It will create about 200 jobs during construction, and then another sort of handful of like operators, probably 2 or 3 operators here, probably one poor guy in the mainland that has to stay up 24/7 and monitor it. And then dozens of jobs with the farming part. So we will be partnering with local farmers to create agricultural jobs. There'll be traffic during construction, and then there will be afterward, really not much traffic impacts. Visual, you will definitely see it if you're driving along Kunia Road. If you drive down, you're driving on Kunia Road along the Waianae side, there's like that tall, it's like a berm with lots of sort of trees and plants and stuff. So it's going to be right on the other side of that. So a lot of it will be screened from the highway, but you'll be able to see it as you drive by in some spots. And let's see. Yep, I mentioned this. We are developing now, hope to be in construction in 2026, and then operating for 25 years under a contract with Hawaiian Electric. Next slide. This, you may have seen this sign. This is the one like Kunialoa Ridge Farms, where they've been selling land over there. This is right at that intersection and looking toward the solar farm. So you'll be able to see the panels and certain spots from that location along Kunia Road. Next slide. This is further down Kunia Road. The landform, you can see some of the panels, but unless you drive in, like across from Royal Kunia, then you can see it, but you kind of have to drive in off the road. This is further down the intersection, Royal Kunia. You can't quite see it from here. One more. Oh, this is from Makakilo. If you're in the homes in Makakilo, way up on top, kind of around that wraps around. You can see some of the solar project from there. And then what else do we have? This is from far away. We can't see it from here. That's kind of all my presentation. Again, I've presented on it several times, but happy to answer any questions. And
All right,
Sorry.
thank you so much, Ren. Welcome back.
thank you.
And thank you for the update on this project. Members of the board and members of the public, are there any questions for Ren at Long Road Energy? Yes, Member Among.
The project looks good. Do you plan on having more of the property as ag land? Because my concern is in Hawaii, our ag land is starting to disappear. We have close to over 1 million people to feed here in Hawaii. Our ag land is really, really important, and it's slowly disappearing, and that's my concern. I like solar panels like everybody else. I believe in the green energy, but people can't eat green energy, and I think the ag land is very important for the residents of Hawaii. So, what do you guys look? Is it possible that you could open up maybe even more land for ag?
Yes, and so yes, I totally agree. I can't eat the green energy either. We absolutely need to figure out ways. We have a lot of ag land in Hawaii. The other challenge is it's not being used because farming is so hard. Farming is expensive. Even if we were to say, so what we're doing in this one, this project, is we have the entire project. We're going to have about 500 acres fenced. Almost all of that is going to be used for farming and ranching. So we are going to be offering the farmers, giving the farmers the land lease for $1 a year per acre. So very cheap. We're going to be helping subsidize the water. We're helping to kind of lower their costs. So number one, they can come in and use the land for farming. And then number two, we try to lower their costs so that they can farm successfully. They bring us an ag plan. They tell us how many acres they want. And then we work with them on how do we get the irrigation there and how do we facilitate it. Your question about more land is we just bought about 900 acres in the Helemano area. And that's not been farmed at all. We're hoping to open that up so that we can do solar plus farming over there.
Yeah, farming is important now
Yeah.
because everybody's so dependent on the shipping in food. I've always believed for years that Hawaii needs to grow their own food for the people here.
Yep.
Should anything happen, emergency wise or shipments don't come in, we have to be self-sufficient. So it's very important. But thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Members, are there any other questions? Member Spurchina.
Just a quick question. So you said it's going to be 500 acres. So what's the percentage which will be used for the farms?
All of that 500 acres will be used for farming, except for we have a couple of acres that will be like a high voltage substation and battery facility that'll be fenced. So we can't have farming in that area. But except for those couple, 3 acres, the rest of it will all be farmed.
So it will be offered to the public for $1 per acre per year?
It will be offered. Your farmers have to come to us they have to be experienced farmers with an agricultural plan. And we want people that can take 10 to 50 acres, people that can do like commercial scale farming, not just like community gardening kind of stuff.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Member Lee, Marilyn Lee has a question, followed by Member Gustafson.
Evening. Thanks for being here. I had a question about water, and I understand there's not one fire hydrant on the whole of Kunia Road. We're going to need a lot of water for the farming. So, do you think as a community service, you might be thinking about putting in some fire hydrants?
We haven't considered that, but we are bringing water. There's agricultural water that comes down from Kunia Water Association. So from Mauka along Kunia Road, they have agricultural water. So it's not for fire protection, but it is available for agriculture. So that's what we're planning to use. There's also the Waihole ditch kind of ends right in that area there. So there's a possibility we could apply for some of that water for some of the agriculture.
Yeah, I still
but
think.
we haven't thought about
yeah.
fire hydrants.
So I think given the wildfire problem and the dry conditions we have, you might think about it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Member Gustafson, followed by Member Kim.
It seems like you've been coming to the board for years under different companies with
Thank you.
different projects. And I really like the projects that you present. They're always so concise and elegant looking. But I don't think I've seen the benefit of the solar projects on my HECO bill. So how are we seeing all these projects going up and yet there's nothing from HECO on my bill that says this is the price of energy you're getting from the solar farm?
So they're my customer, right? So what they do is we're like the wholesaler, right? So we're like, we sell the bananas to Safeway and then Safeway turns around, marks it up and then sells it to you. So we only provide the wholesale power. From Hawaiian Electric side, they pass through that cost. So if they were paying like for 120 megawatts of power, they were running a diesel generator in Kahe or low sulfur fuel oil at Kahe Valley, and they can turn that down now, and they can take solar energy much cheaper, cleaner and cheaper. Those dollars on your bill are actually going down. So they pass through that cheaper cost of energy. But the bill is made up of two components. It's the cost of energy that HECO pays for and passes directly to you. So as oil goes up and down in price, that portion goes up and down. Solar is flat. It's going to stay flat. The rest of it is everything else. It's all of HECO's charges for what they charge to maintain their lines, to pay their people, to do all the other things that Hawaiian Electric does to keep the the whole rest of the system running. That does not go down. That keeps going up. So I think what people are seeing is even if the fuel cost goes down, because it's solar or because oil gets cheaper, for a month, you don't see that because the top line keeps going up. And I think that's what you're seeing. So yeah. I wish I could fix that part, but that's tricky.
Okay. I like your presentation and what you're looking at, trying to bring the agricultural in there. But a question I have is not even your area, but across the street on Kunia Road, there's another photovoltaic farm, right? Are they in ag land or not? Or have they done anything similar to that, or are they separate?
They're not. That farm, Ho'ohana, it's called Ho'ohana, that's by a different developer, a different company owns that. That's almost completed construction right now.
Right.
That is not on ag land. I think my understanding is that is on land that was previously going to be used for homes, like a Haseko expansion at a future project that is no longer going forward. So it's not ag, not zoned ag.
Okay, thanks.
I'd like to remind members, in accordance with the Neighborhood Commission Office guidelines and OIP, that we direct questions specifically to this presentation. Member Kupuka'a, you have a question?
I was wondering, what is the land being used for now? Is it agricultural land?
It's agricultural land. Some of it has been used for farming seed corn. Bayer, Monsanto, previously Monsanto, and then Hartung Brothers. That's who we bought the land from. They were farming seed corn. So they grow the corn and then they ship it to the mainland. And then some of it was just fallow, where it's just overgrown. Up on the hillsides, there's no irrigation, so a lot of it, about 200 acres, is not being used. And then another portion was being used by the Law family, Fat Law Farms. They have done diversified ag, so they do basil and curry and some other types of agriculture.
Currently, I'm leasing land in Wahiawa, below the Halemano Military Reservation. And I'm leasing 2 acres. And we're being charged for lease rent $120 for 2 acres, $600 per acre. And you're saying that you're going to lease the land for $1 a year?
$1 per acre per year. Yeah. Yeah. But you don't have to farm between solar panels. So imagine, that's the trick, right? The reason why we're trying to incentivize farmers is because it's a little trickier. You got to figure out, oh, how am I going to farm whatever I'm going to farm between these rows of solar panels? So that's why it's cheap. It's an incentive. It's kind of a, we work together, cooperate.
Members, any other questions? I see Board Member Skylar Ross has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Ren, for coming out. I had a question regarding the batteries and the solar panels and stuff like that. So the first question is, what type of batteries are you guys going to be using? What's the efficacy of those batteries? How often are we going to be replacing these batteries and stuff like that? Or what's the full charge of these batteries? So that way, we only we're charging them during the day, but we're going to be using them at night. How long are they going to last? Things like that. Second question I have is, when you guys are partnering with building these solar panels and building these batteries and stuff like that, are we hiring local? Are we bringing in experts from the mainland to train local? Or is it just going to be like a mainland company that's going to be running the entire thing for the maintenance side? And then my last question is, I love the fact that you're going to incentivize farmers to come in to be able to grow and produce food and things like that. If you guys are unable to sell it, if you guys are unable to bring in enough farmers, what is the backup plan for that land?
Okay. I'm going to start with the first question. I'm going to forget the other two, so please remind me. Okay, so first, the batteries. We are going to, we are planning to, it's a 480 megawatt hour battery, so it'd be not the largest on the island, but second largest. Those batteries will be, we're still, there's a couple different manufacturers that we're talking to. The idea is a solar farm charges the batteries during the day. And then right now, like there's no solar, right? No solar panels are producing right now, but those batteries will be able to discharge energy into the grid. So provide clean energy during the evening. That's generally what the batteries are for. They also provide the ability for the utility to, kind of provide some cushion. Maybe the wind farm, maybe it's really windy and the wind farm is generating energy, can't be used, can be stored. So it's going to support the grid that way. The length of the lifetime of the battery, it's probably, the technology is getting better. We are going to maintain the batteries for 25 years under contract with HECO. So as the cells degrade, and the warranty is somewhere around 15 to 20 years right now. So as the cells degrade, those cells will be shipped out, recycled or refurbished and replaced so that we maintain that amount of battery storage throughout the life of the contract. The question about who are we going to hire? We are working with one of two local contractors, and they are primarily, most of the work's going to be union and most of it's going to be local. We're planning to hire as many local folks as we can on Oahu, from Oahu specifically. And if we need to hire from maybe neighbor islands, I think the last thing we want to do is to bring in folks from the mainland. Not to say there won't be like managers and things that may come in for certain specific, like the battery system, right? That's something we haven't built here. So we're probably going to have to bring in some experts for that. The goal is really to prioritize local labor to build the projects. And then I told you I was going to forget one of the three questions.
No, those are all three. Yeah.
Yes.
You
I
get
think
a
I
star.
missed one.
No, those are all three. I counted them. Thank you,
No,
Ren.
the third-
And members of
sorry.
the public.
Hey,
Oh,
so
excuse
the
me. I
third
stand
question
corrected.
is,
Go ahead, member.
if you're unable to sell the land or
Yes.
use the
If
land
we're
for
unable
farmers,
to. Yep. So we have, we're just starting to talk to farmers. So we really are hoping that we can find something different. We've got hydroponic lettuce farmer right now. We're talking to mamaki tea farmers. We're talking with folks that are doing basil, that are, lots of other crops right now. So I think if we can't do anything in agriculture, then we're going to have to go back to DPP and explain what, and ask them, what do we do from here? We have other things that have been successful are sheep, bees to grow honey. So there's a lot of farms, there's a lot solar farms in the mainland that have like pollinator friendly, flowering plants all over, and they have hives and they make honey. So, we're going to try and see what we can, what is going to work. But we are required by permit to use the land, make sure the land is used for agriculture activity.
Thank you. I see there's some members in the audience who would like to ask a question. Please stand up, state your name for the record, direct their question to Ren. Please, thank you.
Hi, I'm Fred Murphy, principal here at Mililani High School, and did not intend to comment on anything else today, but this is super exciting, state-of-the-art land use, and it's amazing. I just wanted to make a comment. I'm not sure if you're talking to the Department of Education, but we are standing up a centralized kitchen around the same time that you're going to be coming online in 2027. What they're trying to do is trying to right now talk to farmers about planting for that centralized kitchen. We're trying to get more farm to cafeteria onto the plate for our students. And that takes planning to get those crops ready to go and to be ready to put into the mouths of about 180,000 people statewide. So I would highly encourage you to talk to, especially because you have the Helimano project as well. And the centralized kitchen will be located in Helimano. Senator Dela Cruz is a part of that whole initiative. And there's a lot of great synergy that I think could happen with the two projects. So I just want to put that out there. Thanks.
As a tangent to that, I see that Malachi Burrows is online representing Senator Dela Cruz's office. So Malachi, if you've heard that, if you could kindly take a note, and if you do need Ren's contact information, feel free to contact me. I can forward it on. Yes, sir, please introduce yourself and state and direct your question to Ren. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brennan Kennard, and my question was, how long are the contracts for farmers? You said $1 an acre per year. Is it certain contract lengths? Is it for 25 years or for 3 years, 5 years?
Thank you. That's a good question. We'll probably be for at least 5 years. We haven't worked out all the details yet. We're still just starting to talk with folks about what they would want, but that's what but we are looking for scale. So we won't do an acre. It'll have to be sort of a larger scale. The goal is to sort of pursue sort of commercial scale farming. And so we are looking for folks that have a lot of experience and that have, the know-how to really grow crops at scale. So, which would be great for the school program. And I believe we're working with Jason Brand, who is going to be supplying lettuce and stuff.
Any final questions for Ren?
Just point of qualification. My question was, what's the percentage of the 500 acres which will be used for ag? You said almost everything except 3 acres, but then that you will let the farmers plant between the panels.
Mm-hmm.
That would be much less. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can't. So the panels are there, so we can use any land that's within the area. But we still have to, but the panels are there. So,
Okay,
so we're going to use the
cover
whole
the 500
area.
Your 500 is yours.
Includes all the panels.
It won't be covered all with the panels.
Correct. So
Okay, so
if
there's
you
some extra.
imagine, there may be like the panels may be, and they're about this high, right? So the panels are going to be, you imagine like a long table, maybe 10 feet wide, and then you have another 8 or 10 feet, and then another table. And so they're going to be spread out throughout
But the surface of the panels is less than 500 acres.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you, Ren, for coming out to Mililani, even though you're a townie and got lost. Next time, hopefully we could see a photo of the view of Mahi Solar from Mililani in your presentation. No.
You could see it. You can see as much of it from outside as you can from inside.
But I do want to just extend my thanks to you. You've been coming out to the Mililani Neighborhood Board for over a decade on multiple projects. So we really appreciate this working relationship with you. And furthermore, I do appreciate that you are evolving the agrivoltaic model to beyond sheep, right? And we're going into actual food, produce that we can grow and eat. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for
Thank you everybody for your time.
Okay, next up, I'd like to welcome the Department of Health. Thank you for coming out tonight from the Disease Outbreak Control Division. They're going to make a presentation on the avian bird flu in Central Oahu. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here.
Welcome.
Wait for a bit. All right. Well, first of all, again, thanks for having us here. I'm Michelle Bien. I'm the influenza epidemiologist here at Hawaii State Department of Health, and I am joined by my colleague, Dr. Kevin Clark, right down there. So we are going to go straight at flu. So our agenda for today, we are planning to talk to you about just some background information on what is bird flu, as well as the current situation here in Hawaii, how influenza is being monitored here, some prevention key messages, and of course our Q&A at the end. So what is avian flu? So that is commonly known as bird flu. We also call it as H5N1. So throughout this presentation, you'll hear me use it interchangeably. So influenza viruses can infect human, birds, and wide variety of land and marine mammals. There are many types of influenza viruses around the globe, and influenza viruses have been identified in over 100 species of bird. And just like any other viruses, influenza virus does change often, which is why I'm putting a plug here for influenza vaccine coming up as we head to this new season. As I mentioned, influenza virus does change often, and some can spread from one specimen or one species to another because of the change. From any species that get newly infected by this new influenza virus, it could mean that our immunity system is not quite well adapted to fight it. So from there, the virus changes can affect the virus severity of the illness. So as a public health priority to prevent human avian influenza infection, it is great for us to really put it up there on front of our goals to prevent any kind of strains from emerging. So H5N1 was detected in Asia back in 1996 with global spreads by the wild migratory birds. First detected H5N1 in wild bird in the United States was actually in 2020. And this strain has major impact on our poultry as well as our poultry farms. So over 109 million birds have been affected in the United States as of date. Since 2020, H5N1 virus has affected a wide range of mammals. I'm sure we all have heard about the infected dairy cattle in the continental states earlier on this year. So H5N1 viruses rarely infect people, rarely, but not impossible. So for this, as of currently, we have around 56 confirmed H5N1 human infection that CDC has reported out. So some of the symptoms for human that has been affected for H5N1 infection, it ranges from mild to no symptoms at all, and rarely it goes to very severe. So the main symptoms that we really look for is what we call influenza-like illness, and that covers fever that's accompanied with cough and sore throat. And we've noticed from previous investigation from human diseases that has been infected with H5N1, pink eye has been one of the main symptoms as well. As for secondary symptoms, running nose, headache, fatigue, or muscle ache has also been reported. So here in Hawaii, we have all heard that there has been a first confirmed H5N1. It was actually confirmed in November 15, 2024 through our wastewater surveillance. From that virus strain, we were able to genetically sequence it and found that it was actually the same virus that was found in Alaska in 2022. So just want to emphasize that this is not the same strain that you have seen infecting poultry and dairy cattle in the continental US. Again, risk to the public right now is low because there hasn't been any human-to-human transmission. However, individuals that have increased risk of bird flu right now are those with direct contact with sick or dead animals or birds, those who take care of infected animals that may be doing the feces or cleaning out the beddings, and as well as those who have been possibly consuming raw unpasteurized milk or dairy products from infected H5N1 cattle. So here in Hawaii, how we monitor influenza is by 3 different ways. As I mentioned, we first got detected of H5N1 through our wastewater surveillance. And secondly, we work really closely with our healthcare providers as well as our healthcare laboratories and state lab. For our healthcare providers, we connect a lot with our physicians throughout our communities to understand what flu activity levels happening in all the different islands, as well as working in enhanced testing for influenza, which we collaborate with our clinical laboratories around the state and our public health labs. We also do animal routine surveillance, so we test, or our partners in our different agency does routine testing of birds, poultry, wild birds, as well as imported cattle for H5. So preventative key messages that we would like to give out to the public is one, really to avoid any kind of direct contact with sick or dead animals or birds. Secondly, if you do notice multiple or unusual illness of death in birds or animals, please report it out to Department of Agriculture. I'm not sure if you're able to see it in the screen, but we did put the Department of Agriculture phone number on there during their normal operating times. But we understand that during non-normal operating times, you probably need to call them too. So we also have a phone number there for you during their state holidays. As for backyard flocks owners, we do have some website linked up in our presentation that helps you understand how to wear proper PPE, as well as understanding the symptoms from poultry that has been affected by avian flu. Last but not least, I do want to re-emphasize that H5N1 risk to the current population is very low. And of course, if you have been exposed or possibly exposed to H5N1 and want to get some risk assessment and guidance, please contact Department of Health. How to safely dispose dead birds found in your yard. So we have heard recently of a lot of news of dead animals inside others' yards. So we just wanted to give you a list of how to properly dispose it. So first and foremost, please put on gloves. And secondly, grab a plastic bag, invert it. And with that bag, you will then grab the carcass, wrap it up, double bag it, and then you can throw it away in a regular trash. Of course, after that, please dispose your glove as well. And then you can also sanitize your shoes. Let the shoes dry with disinfectant. And if your clothes have been touched by the carcass, please take it off, wash it with hot water. Last but not least, just like any respiratory viruses, we do recommend hand washing. So really wash your hand with soap and water. All right, that is all we have for you today. So thank you so much for having us. And we have linked some resources up from DOH, DOA, CDC, USDA.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you, Dr. Clark, for being here. Members of the board and members of the public, are there any questions for the Department of Health? Board member Spurchina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is, what if cat eats the bird? Can they be contaminated?
Hi, everyone. Dr. Kevin Clark, Department of Health, Mililani EK parent. I'm glad to be here with you all. Great question. So for the H5N1 virus specifically itself, there have been, the virus can infect cats and can cause fatal infections in cats. The confirmed cat infections in the continental US that have been well documented to date have been cats on farms and most likely drank raw milk from infected cattle and got the virus that way. In raw milk, there is a high concentration. In raw milk from infected cows, there's a high concentration of virus. It's possible if a cat does eat an H5N1 infected bird that it can get infected. So we do ask if members of the public do note any unusual cat deaths or sick deaths. I know we have feral cats around in the community. Then report that into the Department of Agriculture so that can be appropriately investigated by the veterinarian community. I'll also note note, just since I talked about dairy cows in the continental US and that milk is safe to drink. Pasteurization completely neutralizes H5N1 virus. So there are no concerns about the safety of the milk supply.
Thank you. I see Board Member Kim has a question.
Yes, are you concerned that the flu might jump to feral chickens, for example, throughout the state, or is there any kind of concern for that? Or pigeons even?
Right now, there hasn't been any kind of H5N1 that's been confirmed in poultry, and the virus that we see now hasn't been the one that's been detected in the poultry farms in the continental US. So there hasn't been quite any concerns real yet, but of course there is that possibility. So I'll let Dr. Clark add on anything I might have missed.
Yeah, that is one of the main possibilities of concern. The H5N1 virus is highly pathogenic to poultry. So you may hear in the news or written, you may see it written highly pathogenic avian influenza. That doesn't mean for humans. And so that means for poultry, which can be a little bit confusing. So it is a big biosecurity concern for poultry farm owners. And, I know poultry farm owners know very well about avian influenza and H5N1 and have a range of prevention measures that they work on with Department of Ag, including standing testing of the flock, which is done routinely, including here in Hawaii. But yes, it is possible with H5N1 circulating in wild birds that we may see some spillover to feral chickens. And so if we see, a group of chickens that are sick or dead, please go ahead and report.
Members of the board, members of the public, are there any other questions for the Department of Health tonight? Yes, Member Gustafson.
So if I understand your presentation correctly, the first time this virus was found was in 96, but it didn't get here to the islands until 2024. Is it that the same mutation, or is it mutated since 96 and changed to be what it is today?
Yeah, great question. So flu viruses are a little bit, my colleague Michelle mentioned, they do tend to change a lot. I think of it as a deck of cards. They have 8 genetic sequences in the virus. And as it replicates, it's almost like a deck of cards shuffling. And so you kind of, get this change over time. After H5N1 was first identified in Asia in 1996, it has continuously changed, over almost 3 decades now. And one of the changes over the past 5 years or so is the number of additional species that have gotten infections. Some mild, some more severe. So, seeing it in dairy cows earlier this year was a new thing, for that virus. We are benefit in Hawaii from a virus that's spread around the globe by migratory birds by our geographic isolation. But we're not isolated from migratory birds. It just took them longer to get here. The main flyways of migratory birds in North America come across Asia, Alaska, Canada, and then down in the continental US. There are species which migrate from Alaska to Hawaii. It's just not as many as go across that flyway into North America. So, ultimately, it has arrived here. And as Michelle mentioned, the virus is the same type that's been seen in wild birds in Alaska.
And since 96, we don't have any vaccines for these animals?
I am not, I'm not up on I'll admit, I'm a pediatrician. I'm not as up on my animal vaccines. But yeah, I'm not sure where that's at. Do you happen to know?
I know humans.
Yeah, no. Health and Human Services has pipeline candidate H5N1 vaccine that the Agency for Strategic Preparedness and Response is working on in case there is a need in the future for it. But as Michelle mentioned, we encourage everybody to get their seasonal flu vaccine. That seasonal flu at the moment causes way more human infections, hospitalizations, and fatalities than avian influenza does. So please, everybody, if you haven't yet, talk to your healthcare provider or go to one of the clinics or pharmacies on island to get your seasonal vaccine.
Member Smart, go ahead.
Okay, you found the virus in the sewage, the sanitation. Can you localize what part of the state that it might have come from? Do you know which island or?
I think the genetic evidence strongly suggests it came by a migratory bird from Alaska area. Yeah, and came to
where?
Oahu.
Yeah. Oh, to Oahu, but you don't know which part of Oahu.
Yeah, we've only detected it on Oahu. There have been the detection in the Wahiwa wastewater sewer shed was the initial signal, and then really, I've before moving to Mililani, I've been with the Centers for Disease Control for 12 years. It is phenomenal what the multi-agency team here has done to go from a signal in wastewater to confirming in a flock in 4 days. And so, it was, bad luck happens to, that flock. And subsequently, you may have seen a press release from DLNR that additional duck was confirmed positive on reserve on the North Shore.
Any questions? I do have a question as a follow-up, Dr. Clark. So you mentioned the disease flock in Wahiwa. And there was news coverage, right, that some of the birds from that flock were here in the Mililani area at Rec 5 at a pet fair hosted by a Mililani Town Association. Hence the news alert, right, of any, Mililani residents essentially having any interactions with or if they held those birds and ducks respectively. Have you heard any follow-up? I mean, have you seen any Mililani residents experiencing any illness related to their attending that pet fair?
We did have some reports from those who were concerned as they did attend the Mililani Pet Fair and had some experience just walking around the ducks or petting the ducks. So we have talked to them, gave them some guidance and as well as some information and answers to their questions.
Okay. So no detection, just
Yeah, and if I could add to that anybody who in their consultation with the Department of Health had a potential high-risk exposure were offered testing, and all persons tested in relation to that initially infected flock here on island all people have tested negative, so there have been no human cases to date.
Great. Separate follow-up, there is an upper respiratory infection going around, especially in the Mililani area. That is separate from this flu, correct? I mean, can you elaborate on the separation of these different?
Definitely.
Thank you.
So for right now, we are currently at the beginning stages of the flu season, but not only flu or season of flu has been circulating, we have noticed in our charts that there has been a little bit tick of RSV as well as other non-flu that's been circulating around, as well as COVID-19. So we do have this information on our respiratory dashboard that kind of gives the public a quick glance of if it's low activity, medium, or high, as well as if you scroll a little bit underneath the website, it tells you a little bit of guidance as to what you should do during those times.
Thank you. Just to emphasize that is not this particular flu. Yeah, I think some residents needed to hear that. Any final questions from the board or the public at this time? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, it's 8:34. We're going to move on to the approval of meeting minutes. I'd like to recognize Secretary Gustafson.
This was a long one. I tried my best. Does anybody have any questions of anything that I wrote down? or any corrections to their questions that I put forth. Minutes.
Is there a second? Seconded by member Smart. Discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to give it to Rachel for the vote.
Okay, so with this, if any board members has any amendments, let me know. If there's none, then the minutes will be moved as approved, adopted as approved.
Okay, so adopted.
Okay, hearing none.
Thank you so much. Moving on to community concerns. At this time, is there any community member that would like to come forward and express any comment or concern within decorum of any events or concerns within this community? Please limit your comments to 3 minutes each per issue for items not on this agenda. All right, thank you. Hearing and seeing none. I'm going to move on to board business. Members, before you, there was an email sent to you of a resolution. It is titled Supporting the Affordable Workforce Housing Project for Teachers on Mililani High School and recommending the project be located to the quote preferred site at the intersection of Meheula Parkway and Anania Drive. I'd like to recognize our Planning, Zoning, Sustainable Development, and Climate Resilience Chair for the motion.
Okay, so members, everyone should have received a copy of this by email. If you're here in person, you should have a hard copy in front of you. So basically, this is just a reso where we are basically requesting SFA to take the community's concerns into consideration with respect to citing the teacher housing project on top of the ag lot. And so it's a fairly long resolution. It's like 2 full pages, and that's because thanks to Danielle and Sabrina, it kind of lays out the history of kind of how we got here from when SFA decided that they were going to choose to do a pilot project in Mililani up until through the whole RFA process up until when they announced that there was a plan to build teacher housing on top of the ag lot. So that's basically what all the whereas clauses say. And so it says, be it resolved that the Mililani Waipio Melamanu Neighborhood Board number 25 strongly supports the development of affordable workforce housing for teachers and appreciates the Pacific Housing Assistance Corporation's elegant renderings and design, which align with the community's aesthetic, provide that the Mililani community continues to be involved, engaged, and regularly updated on the site's location and implementation of the project. And be it further resolved that MB 25 strongly urges SFA and the Pacific Housing Assistance Corporation to relocate the proposed workforce housing project to the preferred site near the Meheula Parkway and Anania Drive intersection, adjacent to the football stadium, while ensuring that plans for MHS's proposed performing arts facility are carefully reviewed and considered for relocation elsewhere on campus. And be it so ordered that copies of this resolution be transmitted to the usual suspects. And again, like I said, one of what we are trying to do with this resolution is that, we don't want to be like other neighborhood boards on this island that have come out just completely against, building new housing projects on this. We want to try and work with SFA, with the developer, so that, something does that get built. We're just very, very unhappy with how the process has played out so far and their ostensibly non-final decision to choose to build on the ag lot site. So with that, does anyone have any questions?
So it's moved by you.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is
So I
there-
move that, okay, so I move and then we go into discussion.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I so move that the resolution titled Supporting the Affordable Workforce Housing Project for Teachers on Mililani High School and recommending the project be relocated to the preferred site at the intersection of Meheula Parkway and Anania Drive be adopted by this board.
Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by member Gustafson. Now we go into discussion. Members, is there any discussion to the resolution? Member Gustafson.
I think it's really important based on the turnout that we had at our October meeting that this board put something on the books that demonstrate the
problems that the community had and the concerns that were voiced. So I'm in full support of this motion. However, I would like to amend the title to be supporting the affordable teacher workforce housing project and then delete 4 teachers on Mililani High School. It's just a,
Okay, so you're striking, so you're inserting affordable teacher workforce housing.
insert the word teacher between affordable and workforce, and then strike 4 teachers after project before on.
Okay, so it would be supporting the affordable teacher workforce housing project on Mililani High School, et
Yes.
cetera, et cetera. Okay,
Is that considered friendly?
yeah, that's a friendly amendment.
Okay, it's accepted by the maker of the motion. Is there any further discussion on this resolution before the neighborhood board?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see my hand, Danielle, but my hand's up.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to recognize Member Smart, followed by Member Freed.
Okay, thank you. I do have concerns about this project, especially the number of units and the concerns of the public. So I'd like to make an amendment on the first resolved. I'm not sure I strongly support the development. I'd like to strike supports development of affordable workforce housing for teachers and appreciates the Pacific Housing Assistant Corporation's elegant renderings and design. I'd like to strike that and change it to after board number 25. I'd like it strongly urges that the project align with community aesthetic and then just continue as it is. So it's mostly just to urge that the project align with the community aesthetic, provided the Mililani community continues to be involved, engaged, and regularly updated on the site's location and the implementation of the project. So it mostly just takes out the accolades.
Sorry.
And
So 1 second, I'm trying, keep in mind this is hybrid, so I want to make sure this is open to everyone, so I have to switch this around. I will write that in. Can you hand me your potential amendment? She does have to have it. She's making a motion. She's making a motion. I'm trying to just provide clarity right now. Yeah, yeah, because that was hard to follow. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna color code this, 1 sec. And correct it strongly. And then you want urges.
that. Okay.
Wait, which align? This is also structured. Hold on 1 sec. Thank you.
Project.
I'm just trying to make sure this is transparent for everybody. Okay. Here, and then that is original. Describing this. Okay, and then this is struck out. Okay, thank you.
That's the project.
Align.
That's the project there. Or does
That the project align. Oh, okay. So there. Thank you. Okay, an amendment Let me screen share this. An amendment was proposed by member Smart. It is shared on the screen for clarity. Is there a second to the amendment? Seconded by member Among. Okay, discussion to the amendment as proposed. So we can't discuss the reso anymore. We're discussing this amendment in particular. Okay, discussion. Member Nagamine.
So I would oppose this amendment just because, I mean, we do want to come out as supporting workforce housing. I mean, the cold hard reality is that there is a shortage of housing period on this island. And, you know, this board, we cannot stick our heads in the sand about that. You know, we cannot be like other neighborhoods, you know, where they're just in denial about it. So we do need to acknowledge that, you know, there is a need for workforce housing and that this, you know, is something that would, you know, that would help, you know, address that.
Okay, any further discussion on this amendment? Member Kim, followed by member Gustafson.
My question would be, even if we urge this amendment, pass this amendment, does that mean that the project can also be kind of like put their thumbs up to you and move it over here to the ag land? Or is it's going to be up to the project people? I mean, you know,
Okay,
the
so just
corporation?
as a point of clarification, according to member Smart's amendment, it would read that the Mililani Waipio Neighborhood Board strongly urges we delete everything from supports to design, which add that the project align with the community's aesthetic provided. So there's no mention of, so she's proposing to delete the language supporting the development of affordable workforce housing for teachers and appreciates the developer, Pacific Housing Assistance Corporation's rendering and design. That is the proposed amendment. Okay, further discussion, member Gustafson, followed by member Lee.
I would oppose this amendment as well. Currently, as the project stands, the project is in the hands of the developer. We have to, as a board, work with the developer and encourage them to change the location. If we just poo-poo on their ideas and say, we don't like what you presented, they do have the ability to say, thank you for your input. Now go sit down, be quiet. We're going to do what we propose to do and which we have the contract to do, which is build on the ag lot. I think supporting the developer's vision is a way to work with the developer in moving forward to a benefit of all parties.
Member Lee.
Madam Chair, I support the amendment because I don't think accolades are necessary. And I think it's important that we sound serious. We do have a history of not supporting things in this community. It's well known that we were against elderly housing in Mililani Mauka. And there's nothing wrong with coming out strong and saying what we think. I think we've been it's been really clear at the meetings that the community is against the agricultural lot being used. And I think accolades are a bit much. I also think that the thing is really too long, but that's just my idea of style of resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion related to the amendment before us? Member Smart.
Yeah, so I'm in support of it, but this doesn't take away our support. The whole title of the resolution is that we support it. And again, someone pointed out that we talk about the support later. This only stresses that we want this to be aligned with Mililani aesthetic and that we want strong participation of the community. And just removes a whole lot of accolades. Personally, I was upset that the contract was let and the principal of Mililani High School had no idea that they changed the location. Only the location that was offered should have been considered. So I have trouble giving accolades to a company that didn't pay attention to what was agreed to. This in no way stops the process. It just emphasizes needs to be go along with Mililani aesthetics and stay engaged with the community. Thank you.
Final discussion on this amendment before the board? Yes, Member Nagamine.
I just want to remind our board members that SFA and the developer are under no obligation to listen to this resolution. They are, as Sabrina already mentioned, you know, they are well within their rights to take all their community input, take our resolution, and say, thank you for your input. We're going to build on the ag lot. By keeping this by keeping the language where we're at least thankful for the effort that they've put into this work to this project so far, we're trying to give them a reason to at least work with us, that we can be reasonable and that, you know, we can hopefully, you know, come to some kind of agreement where in the end the project is not built on the ag lot. That's a big part of what we're trying to do here. But again, if we don't throw them a bone, at least they're going to say, okay, why should we listen to you if you're going to take a hardline stance on it?
Okay, we've had a lot of discussion. We have to continue on with this meeting. I anticipate there's going to be more amendments. So I'm going to take it over to Rachel to take a vote for this amendment before us, not the resolution, members, amendment before us. So go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, so we're taking the vote on the amendment. So let me just read this. So we're gonna change it to strongly urges align with community ethics.
Strongly urges that the project align with the amendment will read, resolved that the Mililani Waipio Melamana Neighborhood Board number 25 strongly urges that the project align with the community's aesthetic, provided that the Mililani community continues to be involved, engaged, and regularly updated on the site's location and the implementation of the project, and be it further. That would be the clause.
Thank you. Right, so when I call your name, say aye if you support this, and then nay if you don't. Rana? Amal?
I support the amendment.
Oh, you support it. Thank you. It works. Ramadi?
She's excused.
Dahl? Flores? Support. Freed?
Abstain.
Sorry, was that a yes?
That
Abstain.
was abstain.
Thank you. Abstain. Gustafson? Oppose? Kanehe? Support. Kapanaaki? Kim? Okay, Kim supports. Pupuka'a? Support. Sasha Lee?
Abstain.
Abstain. Marilyn Lee? Nagamine?
No.
Okay. Ozawa?
Yes.
Park? Yes. Okay, thank you. And then Park? Thank you. Ross? Abstain. Segura?
Abstain.
Abstain. Mary Smart?
Support.
Support. Sursina?
Support.
Support. Trotter? Okay. Williams?
Support.
Bass?
Oppose.
Okay. Okay. So with that, I have 12 in support, 3 noes, and 4 abstains. Okay, so with that, I need actually one more to actually accept this amendment.
So the amendment
So either we
fails.
take the vote again or
The amendment fails.
I'll
Yeah,
amend
the-
my,
I can amend my my abstain to oppose.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Segura.
I
Segura.
don't think
Okay.
you can change your vote.
Oh.
No changing of votes. We didn't do a revote. No changing of
Oh, it'll
votes.
still be the same ending result anyways, too.
So
anyways.
the motion failed.
It fails.
The motion to amend failed. Okay. And so member Freed had her hand up. She wanted to, so now we're going back to the resolution. I'm going to make the amendments online to go back to the original resolution. I'm recognizing Anne in the discussion of the resolution.
Okay, so the resolution is fine in terms of, asking them to do what the community wants them to do, what the school wants them to do. My concern is that there's nothing in this or nothing that they have told us that addresses the fact that the housing they're planning to build is not affordable by teachers. So if they build it and no teacher can occupy those housing units because they can't afford them, what happens? Experience shows that they just rent it out to the community, whoever can pay. So I think we need another resolution that maybe we need to get the governor involved because he is the boss of DOE. If we get the governor involved and tell him, you're all for, affordable housing, we're talking about retention of two things, affordable housing for teachers and retention of teachers in Hawaii. And this is not the way to do it. That's my underlying concern is that, you move the, it's like moving from one end of the Titanic to the other. If the housing is still not affordable, then it doesn't matter where they build.
Noted. Unfortunately, we do not have the time and it is not on the agenda to create another resolution.
Understand.
So comments are noted. As well as that was noted by many of the attendees of the affordability of the AMI for the teachers they testified effect. Other be recognized for the discussion of the resolution at this time. Please raise your hand. I'm looking online as well. I'm sorry, who? Oh, okay. Member Kim, go ahead.
This resolution brings to my mind a question of whether the housing authority has already started the process to develop that ag land. And so my question is, if they've already started the process, then without anybody knowing before it got put out to the public or to us, does this resolution going to make any difference or not? Because they've already, it's kind of like the railroad started already.
If I may, can I? Okay. I have personally, members, I've attended all of these meetings listed in the resolution just to monitor what the Mililani community has said, as well as the members of the Mililani High School staff, as well as the School Facilities Authority and their this proposed developer. It was mentioned that in the School Facilities Authority's meetings held in November, gosh, I forget the date, 16th and 18th, here at Mililani High School, that they are open to receiving this feedback from the Mililani community, and they will work with the developer to try to see if this can be relocated. It's not a quote done deal just yet for the ag lot, impacting the ag program, and they remain open in this conversation. And so I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Okay. What else was?
That deal already.
You need to put it on the microphone.
My question is it a done deal and they're going to build it no matter what we say or how this resolution goes forward?
So the executive director of the HISFA was in attendance. Was it Saturday's meeting, Sherry? Sherry from the SFA is here in the audience. Monday's meeting. Thank you. They all blur. He did say this is not a done deal to the Mililani community. So this is, I mean, they did admit, they did actually apologize to the Mililani community to the fact that the community engagement is a little belated. And they are listening in terms of the ag lot and the ag program. They are working with the Mililani High School for any other potential site locations. And so they are trying to work with our community and hope to come to this board in the new year for an update, as well as they'll be hosting future community meetings on December 17th and 18th here at Mililani High School. So it's not a done deal just yet, to answer your question. Any further discussion on the resolution before us? Member Smart.
Thank you. Now, when I talked before, the amendment wasn't only because of the location, but also because of the non-affordability. And so until we get the prices affordable and get it in the right location, I wanted to save my accolades. So thank you.
Noted. Members, any further discussion on the resolution before us before we take this to a vote? Looking for hands. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
So I can't find my hand right
Ann,
now.
is
But
that your
Daniel,
hand up?
I just have a question. And that
Okay, go
is,
ahead.
am I correct in remembering that the cost of housing is based on median price of housing in Hawaii? Is that still true?
Yes, according to the meetings that
Okay.
I've attended, as well as according to the SFA's presentation to our board, the RFP as well as the proposal is based on area median income, AMI. They are different AMIs, so it's a phase, it's at different levels. I'm sorry, I do not have those numbers memorized at this point.
Okay, so
And
it's not real estate prices, it is income based.
And it is area is based on the area median income of city and county of Honolulu that is described by the Housing and Urban Development Department of the United States. And it
Okay.
is updated every year.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So just to elaborate on the definition of affordability. So what the developer is using is that to speak very broadly, when you talk about affordable housing, you're typically looking at housing where the final price of the housing to either be sold or rented is tied to these AMI definitions, area median income. And so the reason why the projected rents are coming out high relative to what a teacher's salary is because they're targeting for 80% of AMI. And so the problem, I think, that with the project as it stands now is that 80% of AMI is still above what a lot of teachers make. And so that's just a discrepancy that SFA and the developer will need to figure out going forward. But right now, we're just mainly focused on trying to have the project relocated to a more amenable site on campus. The AMI issue, that's a thing that can be addressed further down the line.
Final discussion,
You
members?
sure about that, Trevor?
I mean, it depends on what exactly, how do I put this? It depends on a lot of things. Like, it depends on the developer's ability to finance the project. I mean, the reason why the state went this route is because, to begin with, was because the government line item vetoed, the money that was supposed to go into this project. And so the reason why we have a project at all is because the developer is saying that they can bring in private financing to get this done. And part of that is that they're targeting this particular income bracket. So whether or not they can revise the target AMI downwards, that's contingent on them still being able to find financing for that, because that all has to pencil out with, what they're, with the decrease in rates that they would be receiving has to be offset somewhere, like along the line, in terms of, financing, either financing that they're able to obtain or, credits or subsidies or whatever that they can receive from the federal government, the city, or the state.
I'll note that unfortunately, since we are in a motion for this resolution and we're in discussion and this is only for the members of the board, I will note that for the record, we do have Sherry here from the School Facilities Authority. We also have Principal Murphy here from Mililani High School. They are listening to this conversation. They are monitoring this conversation, and they actually watch our YouTubes of these board meetings to listen and potentially address a lot of the questions raised. I know that they have listened. They did provide positive feedback to the October meeting we had last month. They're very aware of the multiple questions that were raised by not only residents of the Mililani area, but this board especially. And so I would like to extend that hopeful thinking that this school facilities authority is listening to this conversation, these strong concerns about area median income and affordability for teachers to afford the rents at the potential workforce housing site later on. And they can hopefully integrate that in a future presentation to this board. All right, hearing no further discussion, I'd like to take this over to Rachel for a vote. So the resolution will be, so there was a friendly amendment accepted. Moving to a motion by member Nakine, seconded by member Gustafson, supporting the affordable teacher workforce housing project on Mililani High School and recommending the project be relocated to the quote preferred site at the intersection of Mehula Parkway and Onania Drive.
Thank you. Okay, so when I call your name, tell if you're supporting or not. Rana, Among, abstain. Ramadi, not here. Gal, support. Flores, abstain. Green,
Support.
thank you. Kasafin, support. Kanehe, support. And Panaaki, not here. Kim, support. Uka, support. Pasha Lee, support. Thank you. Marilyn Lee, support. Okay. Agamine, support. Support. Ozawa, support. Thank you. Park,
Support.
thank you. Ross,
Support.
thank you. Segura,
Support.
support. Mary Smart, abstain. Christina,
Abstain.
abstain. Potter, Williams,
Support.
support. Bass,
Support.
support. Okay. So that was 15 ayes, 0 nays, and 4 abstains. So the resolution has been adopted.
All right, thank you, members. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we will continue on this agenda. It is 9:07. I appreciate everyone's expediency and efficiency, and we will move into elected official reports. First up is Congressman Ed Case's office. Is Nestor Garcia online or in person? Seeing and hearing none, we're going to move on to the office of Governor Josh Green. Is Tony Schwartz here as his representative? Online or in person? Seeing and hearing none. I did receive communication from Tracy Kubota, member. She is ill and expresses her regrets in attending tonight's meeting. If you do have any questions for the mayor's office, please questions to Rachel at the NCO's office and she can provide them on to Tracy and the mayor's office. We're going to move on to Val Okimoto's office, Councilmember Okimoto's office. I see that she is online.
Hi, how are you? Sorry about that. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and board members of the board. This is Aaron with the Office of Councilmember Okimoto. I'm gonna try to keep this short. The council members' resolution 24-242, urging the Hawaii State Legislature to enact legislation addressing the drastic increase in property insurance premiums passed. Other bills of note that are past second reading and coming up for third reading. Bill 51 relating to the adaptive reuse of the existing commercial buildings. That is to create more affordable housing. Bill 62 is relating to the fire safety code. They're trying to extend the deadline for the installation of fire sprinkler systems to give the give the owners a little more time to figure that major pricing out. There was a response to a question from last month about the October 2023 wildfire someone had. Uh, the HFD investigation for the Mililani Malco wildland fire is closed. The HFD is unable to release results of its investigation as they are following protocols set by the federal government. However, the investigation by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services is still ongoing and pending the processing of evidence that will be released. The following point of contact for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service was provided to the Mililani Malka Neighborhood Board Chair, Eric Johnson. This is a quiet month. We had a few constituents who called about the concerns about over rising property insurance premiums. Another constituent requested repair of the sidewalk on Kehane Street that has been patched and is set to get fully fixed. The one last thing here. Finally, we're having a town hall on December 3rd at Mililani Malka Elementary. The council member invites the community out for to give their input on legislative priorities for the new year. Happy holidays, and I'm happy to take any questions back.
Okay, thank you so much. Members, any questions for Councilmember Okimoto's office? Yes, Member Smart.
Okay. I'm interested on, and I probably should have looked it up. How did Councilmember Okimoto vote, or how is she going to vote on the empty house?
Empty
property tax?
The empty
Yes.
homes tax.
Yes,
I'm
because I'm against that tax. I think it's great to have empty homes and then they're paying their property taxes and not using our roads and all our services. So I don't
you're.
see it as a bad
I'm
thing.
sorry. You said you're against the tax, or you're for the tax?
I'm against the tax. I'm wondering what her position is.
She does. I will get a clarifying clarification for you, and I can email you. But I know for now that she does have significant concerns with the bill. Unless there's big fixes, then I don't want to speak for the council member. I'll get that official statement for you, but I do know that there are significant concerns currently.
Thank you. Thank you.
Further questions for Councilmember Okimoto's office members? Members of the public, any questions for Councilmember Okimoto's office? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much for your presentation tonight, or your report.
Thank you. You have a good holiday.
Hey, you too. We're gonna move on to Councilmember Matt Wire's office. I see that Kelly's online. Welcome, Kelly. Please proceed with your report.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Good evening, Chair Bass and members of the board. Kelly Anaya from Councilmember Matt Wire's office. Just a couple things. Councilmember wanted to thank the Honolulu Police Department for hosting the 2024 Senior Safety Conference earlier this month. The event featured guest speakers that shared valuable information and insights, along with workshops and resources that focus on connecting our seniors with services that promote mental, physical, and overall well-being. A couple of legislative updates. Last month, the City Council passed Bill 22, which would legalize certain fireworks despite council members' vote against the measure. The mayor did veto the bill and the council did consider an override, but decided against it. Bill 64, which reviews and updates the city land use ordinance, will most likely be up for on the agenda for December 11th full council meeting. You can check back probably next week, Thursday, December 5th, for the agenda to see if it's on. Bill 59, which was co-introduced with Chair Waters, would reduce the single-use plastic containers at city facilities and events. This would address the plastic waste issues that we're experiencing. It would prohibit the selling of containers 1 liter or less at city concessions and facilities. And then lastly, Bill 61, co-introduced with Councilmember Cordero, would promote public safety and it would be prohibiting wheelies done on public roadways using certain motorized vehicles, including mopeds, motorcycles, and e-bikes. And if anyone has any questions for our council member, I can take them now.
Members, any questions? Members of the board and members of the public, please raise your hands if you have any questions for Councilmember Wire's office. Member Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Councilmember Wire for voting against the original bill, and he also voted against the override of the veto. And I'm disappointed that our Councilwoman Okimoto voted for it. I had written her a letter, but I got no response. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
As a friendly reminder to members of the neighborhood board, please direct questions to the offices that are providing their reports. Thank you. Any further questions from members of the neighborhood board? Any questions or comments from the members of the public? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to Senator Kidani's office, Trevor Nagamine, for the report.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, members of the public. My name is Trevor Nagamine. I'm here on behalf of Senator Michelle Kidani tonight. So just a couple highlights from Senator Kidani's newsletter. She recently attended the blessing for the indoor pickleball courts at the Hawaii Convention Center, which were introduced just in time for the Aloha Pickleball Games and Festival recently. She also attended the Hawaii Agricultural Foundation's Eat, Think, and Drink Regional Kitchens. Regional Kitchens meeting. And so again, that ties into some other things that she is trying to move forward as education chair, like Principal Murphy mentioned earlier this evening. DOE is planning on opening a new kitchen facility up towards Halamano Plantation. And so that's part of like trying to expand that farm to school pipeline of locally grown foods. Also, if you listen to Hawaii Public Radio, she was on Bite Marks Cafe recently to talk about computer science and K-12 education. So other than that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Members of the neighborhood board, are there any questions for Senator Kidani's report? Yes, Member Spurchina.
Thank you. Just want to remind all of the representatives and senator and even council members, elections in Hawaii as of today has not been certified. You know, they are not certified yet because there's a lot of complaints, a lot of lawsuits which were filed. So I would encourage everyone to even share it with fellow representatives and senators to attend possibly December 18 will be meeting of Election Commission. And it's going to be pretty historical, I believe. So it would be nice if our representatives would represent us there also in the audience, not necessarily, you know, giving testimonies, but at least listening to what's going on with this very important body of politics in Hawaii.
Okay, yes, I can pass that on to the senator.
Any questions from the Mililani Neighborhood Board to Senator Kidani's office? Any questions or comments from the members of the public to Senator Kidani's office? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much for your report.
Okay, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
And
You too.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, because the next time I'll be doing this is in January.
Thank you. You too. Same to you. Okay, I see Malachi is online from Senator Dela Cruz's office. Please proceed with your report, Malachi. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bass, members of the board. I'll just mention that I was on earlier, so I did catch Principal Murphy's pointing out a potential nexus between farmland production on the solar panel land and the regional kitchen. So noted that. I just wanted to start with some follow-ups from last meeting, actually the meeting before last in September, to questions that were asked. One of the questions was about how HECO picks communities to have their power shut off during like an emergency situation that we had. I think towards the end of summer, there was a couple power shutoffs. And I spoke to someone from HECO, and their answer was, I have it quoted here, so I'll just read it out. Basically, they said, it's important to note that if there is insufficient power to meet demand, then load shedding, quote unquote, or systematically disconnecting customers will begin in different areas across the impacted island. Targeted emergency outages are needed to avoid widespread outages or damage to the electric system due to an imbalance of power to meet the demand. And they have a predetermined sequence under their company policy that sets off, which sections are shut off. And basically each situation in each sequence is unique based on the circumstance at the time. And they gave me a number for the customer service, if that's helpful for folks who are wondering, and it's 808-548-7311. The other question I had gotten in September meeting was about what the senator or the state is doing as far as combating other invasive species than coconut rhinoceros beetle. So I just wanted to reiterate that in the biosecurity bill passed last session, after the governor's vetoes, there was 1.5 million allocated for fire ants, 1.2 million allocated for coconut rhinoceros beetle, 600,000 allocated for two-line spittlebug, $300,000 allocated for rose ring parakeet, $240,000 allocated for brown tree snake, about $75,000 allocated for coqui frogs. So, in short, yes, the state is addressing multiple invasive species that are affecting the state and the island. And then I'll just touch on the teacher housing project and just reiterate that there are upcoming meetings, community meetings in December on the 17th and 18th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Mililani High School, I believe in the cafeteria this time around, not the library. But that concludes my report. So if there's any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask. Thanks.
Thank you, Malachi. Members of the neighborhood board, are there any questions for Senator Dela Cruz's office? Member Spurgeon.
Just quick follow-up on that coconut rhinoceros beetle. Those $1.2 million which were allocated for it, I checked some of those figures. If I'm not mistaken, they were mostly for some new inspector positions, and I don't see any direct support to the people who are basically having those palm trees in their backyard. So obviously those people will be spreading the next generation of those bugs everywhere else. So if you can be more specific, or if you can get some support. I called the hotline number as well, and I just received some generic description what to expect, and we see it every day. That's all.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, there were, along with the funding for the specific insects and species, there was also positions allocated. So both money going directly to addressing the invasive species. Separately, there was also positions added as well.
Any other questions for Senator Dela Cruz's office, members? Any members of the public wishing to provide a question or comment to the senator's office? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much, Malachi, for your report. We're going to move on to Yvonne from Representative Peruso's office. Welcome.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, board members. Thanks for having me. Yvonne, reporting on behalf of Representative Peruso. So I just have two things. The first thing is an event that Rep. Russo and another legislator are holding next Tuesday at the Mililani High School Library. It's the People's Budget, so it's a part three event of a series. Rep. and a few other legislators have been working since late last session in April, really just helping the community to demystify the government budget and helping folks to understand what goes on in the budget and how to read the budget. So next week, we're going to be having our part three of the series, inviting different department agencies, community groups, unions, and you folks as well to really gather our priorities and really prepare for the next session. So that's going to be, once again, Mililani High School Library next Tuesday, December 3rd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And we'll be providing food. So please join us. And then the second thing, Rep is also going to be hosting our Keiki Caucus High School internship program. So the deadline for that is December 1st. So if you know any junior or senior who's interested in learning more about session and working the work of a legislator and their staff, their office, please have them apply or reach out to our office if they have any questions.
Thank you, Yvonne. Members of the Neighborhood Board, any questions for Representative Caruso's office at this time? Seeing and hearing none, are there any members of the public who would like to wish to address any questions or comments to Representative Caruso's office? All right, thank you, Yvonne. You have a great holiday.
Mahalo. Have a great holiday.
I see that Representative Matsumoto is here in person tonight. Thank you for being here in person. Really appreciate it.
Evening, Chair, members of the board, members of the public. I have my report that's being passed out, just a lot of updates of different things that have happened. And since the last time that I saw you all, the first thing I wanted to note, it's been a while, but didn't get to talk about it at the last month, is we were able to honor the life of Representative Mark Nakashima, a wonderful colleague, worked very well with him in his time in the legislature. And so we had a service for him, a remembrance for him at the Capitol. That's in your handout. So different things in the community, a lot of trunk or treat events all around. Was able to do that with my family, which was wonderful. Also, Mililani Public Library had their 40th anniversary. So I was able to attend that and give them a certificate. A wonderful, wonderful event there. Also, Mililani Trojan Band Fest. And then I was finished my 2 years as the national chair of Women in Government at their leadership summit just 2 weeks ago. And so wanted to highlight that. On the third page, you'll see the update on the Mililani Satellite City Hall. So we got a notice from the city that they are, I can read just the area that they appreciate suggestions from the constituents, and they're evaluating open spaces that could meet our needs, such as the town center of Mililani and the Mililani Shopping Center. Please keep in mind that any potential site will require further review and approval, as well as careful consideration and approval of the budget. But there was communication back on that satellite city hall, which I know many people were asking about. Also, with the task force for condo insurance, there's updates. Those are all available on our website at repmatsumoto.com. And then the biggest thing that I wanted to let everybody know about is our survey. If you live in District 38, this survey will be coming to your into your mailbox, and so please look for that. But it's also available on repmatsumoto.com. The first thing you'll see is that pop-up for the survey. Please fill it out. This is how we shape our legislation for the next session. So I ask all of you to do that. There's also the update for the Mililani Teacher Housing Project for those future dates on December 17th and December 18th. And I did want to share, because it wasn't shared tonight, It was shared at the Mililani Quarterly, but the Mililani Trojan Trading Post is open, and it's open on Fridays and Saturdays till December 21st. First of its kind in the state that the school is actually, it's at Mililani Town Center, kind of right next to, by across from Hickam Federal Credit Union. So please visit the students. They've been working really hard on this, and you can buy things for the upcoming holidays. So that will round out my report for this evening, and great to see you all before Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions? Members of the neighborhood board, any questions for Representative Matsumoto, Member Ka'anehe?
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to thank you for coming in person and showing how you care about the community. Every kind of event or anything that I go to, any kind of presentation, you're always there. And I'm sure I only go to 1/10 of them, but every time I see that you're always involved in everything that had any concerns with Mililani, and it's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the Mililani Neighborhood Board for Representative Matsumoto?
That was a wonderful question. Thank you.
I'm going to explain why I'm asking this later in my chair's report. And are there any questions or comments from the Mililani public or from the public at this time for Representative Matsumoto? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much. Happy
you.
Thanksgiving, Merry
Thank you.
Christmas, and Happy New Year's to you as
Sounds
well.
good. I'll see. Oh, wait. Super important announcement. Opening day.
Yes.
Sorry, now that you said all of those holidays, opening day is the third Wednesday in January. So that will be January 15th. Would love for everybody to come out. If you've never been to an opening day before, it really is. There's no other state that I think does it like we do. So please come down. All of our offices will be open. Come and visit us. I can't believe I forgot about opening day. That's a very important announcement. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Last but not least, I see that Representative La Chica is here online. Please proceed with your report, Representative.
Aloha, good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Mililani Waipio Neighborhood Board. Trish La Chica here. It's been a while since I've seen you guys. Some community updates. I remember from you should remember from a few years ago, in 2022, when a bunch of about 9 or 10 young trees were vandalized along Anania Drive, and were clean cuts. And so our office was able to work with the city's Division of Urban Forestry to install new trees and plant them along Anania Drive. So we have 10 new trees, silver trumpets, and tulip woods. And also, I don't know if Principal Murphy is still there or if he had announced, but something really exciting that's happening with the Mililani High School community is their pilot program of the putting in a plant-based option for school meals. So having a meatless Monday has started, which will transition next year to Vegan Friday. So I'm excited to be coming to campus in a couple of weeks to taste some of the recipes. And been busy. I was able to attend and volunteer for the different fall fairs, Kipapa, Waiana, Mililani Uka, and Mililani Mauka. And just a lot of fun helping with some of the games and the prizes for the kids. Also, it was announced today the House leadership and committee positions. Something that I'm excited to share is our new speaker, Nadine Nakamura, has asked me to serve as a member of her leadership. So very excited to be starting in this new role as the Assistant Majority Floor Leader. Congratulations as well to Representatives Peruso and Matsumoto for their leadership positions. I will also remain as the Vice Chair of Education. So we're continuing to work on our education package for next session. I will also be on the Housing and Transportation Committees. And then next week, so I think there's a bunch of things happening next Tuesday, but December 3rd, I am hosting a community talk story on the condo insurance crisis. So I had a joint virtual meeting with Rep. Matsumoto a couple months ago, but because this continues to be a very important and pressing issue in the community, we are inviting the Insurance Commissioner, Gordon Ito, members of the Real Estate Commission, DCCA, as well as the insurance industry, just to give us a perspective of what is the trend, what are we seeing, why are, anyone who lives in a townhome knows just what the impact has been in terms of special assessments being raised for us for the entire property to receive coverage, full coverage. So it's just been a huge financial impact to our community members. So we're having that 5:30 p.m. Mililani Uka. I'll drop the link right now in the chat, but it's also on my website to register, repchurchlachica.com. I believe we already have over 50 attendees that have registered. It's clearly top of mind, so I hope you guys can come. And with that, I will open it up to any questions. Thank you so much.
Representative. Members, members of the board, are there any questions for Representative Lachika at this time? Member Spurgeon, please proceed.
Yes, just simple question. I'm trying, if I am trying to reach you now when the legislative session is not in session, I'm using the phone number which is on the internet. There is a 586-56150. Is that the correct number to reach my representative? I left a message there like more than a week ago. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, let me make sure that I can email you, Emil, make sure that you have our contact info. But yeah, it should be, you can reach us, email me or contact me, text me. But yeah, as you mentioned, we've been meeting with constituents, and we're also, if anyone has any ideas for priorities for legislation from the community, we are also drafting bills as well as capital improvement projects. So state projects, but if you have city projects, we can have a discussion. It just requires a funding match from the city. But yeah, any type of improvements for the community, please reach out so that we can get it introduced next session.
Any further questions from the Mililani board for Representative Lachika? Are there any questions or comments from the public for Representative Lachika at this time? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much, Representative Lachika, for your report.
Aloha and happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. You too. Okay, it's 9:37, so I do hope to keep this quick. In terms of chair's report, it's been busy. I have attended all the SFA meetings, all 5 following our board meeting, as I reported during the resolution conversation. I also attended a meeting of all neighborhood board chairs in November. And members, you have received correspondence from the Neighborhood Commission Office regarding an OIP, I guess, opinion or guidance that was provided to the NCO. This is in relation to an issue that arose at another neighborhood board, in which members were trying to ask questions of various people providing their monthly reports, and it was outside of the jurisdiction of that individual or entity, office, etc. And so there's been a discrepancy in that situation. Following that OIP guidance that was all provided to you, the NCO's office or the Neighborhood Commission Office is working with OIP to try to get some clarity on how we can proceed through agendas so that you're not limited, so that we as neighborhood board members can ask questions of these reporting entities. For example, you may have seen changes on our agenda. Although the Neighborhood Commission Office hasn't really provided neighborhood boards a template at this time, and all the chairs have requested one. You may see there's parentheses there underneath the monthly reports, as well as under presentations, to kind of provide assistance to all of you, the neighborhood board members, as well as the members of the general public, so that by writing this on the agenda, I've enabled, all of you to ask questions on for example, the Honolulu Fire Department's monthly report, any fire and emergency incident statistics within the time frame of October and November, safety tips and reminders which they present, and any upcoming events. I'm trying to provide board members and members of the public this flexibility. That continues, as you can see in presentations. I'm emphasizing that questions are specifically related to the project's presentation, right? For clarity, so that our board is not working outside of accordance of OIP's guidance in that situation. Furthermore, in elected official reports, right, I've provided the same italicized guidance of monthly reports are given by the following elected officials or their designees, updates on previous or current questions and concerns. So that allows our board members flexibility on questions. It was provided in the opinion of OIP that the members of neighborhood board members can only ask questions. They wrote that. OIP, the State Office of Information Practices, wrote that in their guidance to the Neighborhood Commission Office. So you've been seeing me for the last month, 2 months, asking you to direct questions to these reports. This isn't because of anything besides, I really need to make sure our board is working in accordance with OIP guidance. And in that same guidance, which this is of note, members of the public who are not board members can direct questions, comments, concerns. So if you are not a board member, you can make a comment. You can say, thank you for coming. You can do all of that, but a board member has to direct a question. I'm sorry, this is not my guidance. This is OIP's guidance in the correspondence that you've all received. So I'm just trying to make sure that our board is working within these guidelines. Furthermore, in that guidance, and there's a lot of guidance, I don't know how many pages there are, I forget. Another new development is members of the board. If you are a member of a neighborhood board, you are not, OIP says that you are not able to go to the public microphone to report of any events or concerns within the community because you're a member of the board. You're not a member of the public. So that will be, that agenda item, which is on all agendas, we cannot get up from our neighborhood board seats and go to the microphone. I know that in the past we've done that, but we are not able to do that according to OIP in that correspondence and guidance. So that was all emailed to you. Again, this is a working issue that the Neighborhood Commission Office is working with OIP. There is no template, and I'm honestly, with this agenda, trying to work in accordance with NCO's guidance as well as OIP's guidance to provide the similar flexibility that we've been operating by. Unfortunately, we do have to kind of tighten the belt a little bit and direct questions to presenters now, right? And we can no longer get up during community events. So, or community concerns. That is the update I've received. What I do hope is in the new year, I do hope to work with NCO so that they could possibly provide enlightening presentation to all of us. Unfortunately, we've been having a very action-packed agenda for this neighborhood board. So that is a priority of mine, is to have NCO present on these new concerns, questions, and guidelines from OIP in the coming year. That completes my report. Are there any questions for me? Yes, Member Smart.
Okay, so we live in this community. How can we as members who come to all the meetings and attend, how can we lose our voice of having comments about what happens in our community? I think that's wrong. And I hope you get that corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure, but these are questions that the chairs have been asking across the island of Oahu. Member Spurgeon, a question?
Just a quick question about the enforcement then. If somebody starts to have a comment instead of question, are we gonna say, point of order or something like that?
Right now, because this is a flexible, right? I don't want to rule people out of order. I'm a friendly chair. I'm trying not to, gavel and call people out of line. You will note that after members have not asked a question, I'll friendly remind members to ask a question. Please note that's just my friendly way of enforcement. I'd really appreciate if you work with me on this and direct a question. If unfortunately a board member does act out of line and continues to not yield, right? That kind of guidelines from me, I will, use chair's discretion and call the member out of order. But, I've been working very friendly in this situation with these, updated changes. Are there any other questions for me in my report? Yes, member Ka'anehe.
I'm sorry. So on the site, there is a booklet that will list all of these issues or on how we're supposed to present. Like I should have said, have you attended every meeting and then throw that in there like a Jeopardy. So on there, it will have all these rules and guidelines.
That's not clear. I'm working I'm working with the information the Neighborhood Commission Office provided all of us chairs, as well as the OIP guidance that was submitted not just to me as a chair, but all of you by email.
Thank you.
Final question. Oh, two. Okay. Member Flores.
Will OIP provide any rationale to some of these decisions?
I believe they did in some of that guidance, so I'd encourage you to take a look at the email sent by Neighborhood Commission Office Executive Secretary Dona. They are having continued correspondence on this issue. Yeah. Member Nagamine?
So as an alternative to just standing up and going to the mic during the community concern section, would we be able to just say before the meeting, just email the concern to you and then see if we can try and figure out which official we can point that at to get a response from?
That wasn't actually articulated in our chair's meeting. I might have to yield that question to NCO. Rachel.
Okay. So, the question that you're saying about emailing, when are you planning to email the question? Like before the agenda goes out or?
Well, I mean both. Do it before the agenda goes out, and then even after the agenda goes out, ask that if it's something that can be included in say Tracy's report or whoever.
Okay. So I know with the mayor's report is a little bit different because it takes we give the departments a month to answer questions. But for the other representatives, I think as long as you email them, because in the agenda it does say current or previous questions, so that will be there. And they can just mention, oh, we got this email about these questions, and they can discuss about that.
Yeah, so thank you. If you see, I wrote previous or current, so that gives us a little wiggle room, right? I'm trying to play within the guidelines OIP gave NCO. So we'll see, how we go. But we haven't had any complaints regarding this new agenda that I wrote up from NCO or OIP. All right, that completes my report. I'd like to recognize Alex Zaza for the Community Partnerships and Community Outreach report.
Yes, we made a couple posts regarding the events that High SFA made in regards to the teacher housing project. At the request, we'll do the same thing again for their events in the month of December. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to Josie Ka'anehe for Community Recognition and Service Awards.
No report, thank you.
No report. Moving on to Martinez Segura for Community Maintenance and Walk Audit report.
Hi, I updated the Google form that's linked on the agenda to include a text box or a option to submit photos of complaint, like the item of complaint.
Are there any questions for this report? Members for Martina? Yes, member Smart.
Okay, I've been doing some walking and taking pictures of problems with sidewalks. Where do we send that again?
The
And
link is attached on the agenda item under the community walk audit report. It should be.
No, it's not. I
Oh,
failed
it's
on
not
that. I'm
there.
sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm
Well,
sorry
it
about
was
that.
on previous agendas. I can,
Okay.
yeah, it was on previous agendas.
Okay, I'll look there. Thank you.
Thank you.
My apologies. I was so involved with this new agenda overhaul. Okay. Moving on to planning, zoning, sustainable development, and climate resilience. Trevor, any report?
Not a report strictly speaking. However, I do want to thank two people on this board for their work in the resolution that we adopted earlier tonight. So the original draft of the resolution that we voted on was created by Sabrina Gustafson. So like she's the person who did like, you know, most of the work in this in getting the resolution together. And she was actually the person who initiated the idea of us doing a resolution tonight. And I also wanted to mention that Chair Bass, you know, she put in like most of the information that you see in the whereas clauses with respect to like, you know, from basically like the history of how we got to this point with SFA and the developer. So really, like, I mean, I'm just the person who is offering it because I'm the planning chair. It's really Sabrina and Danielle who we want to thank for the reso tonight.
Thank you, Trevor. Members, any questions for Trevor and his report? Member Kanehe. Any other questions for Trevor? Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to move on to transportation and OMPO. Skylar.
Nothing to report.
Okay, no report. Moving on to military affairs and emergency management. Dennis. Here.
In talking to members of the community, they're talking about an emergency management fair. They're looking at March. And one of the concerns they are looking at is whether or not we need to try to develop a ham operating people that are ham operators. Okay, going back historically, when Kauai was hit by Hurricane Iniki, the first communication, and I was sitting in the civil defense tunnel in Diamond Head, the first communication that came in was through a ham operator. And before any government organization or any other people could set up the communication. So they're talking about, well, maybe there's something we should look at in Mililani. And so anybody got inputs on this, I'd be happy to take it and bring it back to the people that we were talking about before we get a meeting going. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Dennis and his report? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to Houselessness Human Services Committee. Darsha, do you have a report?
Thank you, Chair Bass. Just two quick things. But first one is food insecurity has remained top of mind for many people. So did want to highlight again the 211 number. It's the Aloha United Way 211, and you just dial 211 and they will connect you with someone. You can also go on the website auw11.org. If you're a texter, you can also text help to 1-877-275-6569, or they have an online search feature. So you can look at it through your phone or on your laptop. And then the second thing was reminding everybody to check their carrots. There has been that E. coli outbreak, so you can your carrots. Make sure that they are not in the recall list, and I will drop that in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Darsha. Members, are there any questions for Darsha and her report? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we're going to move on to Parks and Recreation. And the Patsy Mink Central Oahu
Oh,
Regional.
Chair Bass, did you hear any of I
Oh.
said?
Yes. Yes. We heard everything. Thank you, Darsha. Okay, Sabrina.
Yes. The biggest news is that the Mililani Town Rec Center 3 is under renovation, so the tennis courts are closed. This is important because apparently a lot of pickleball players went to those courts. So the City and County of Honolulu has put on their website the names of 200 courts in 96 city and county parks where you can play pickleball. Now, some of these courts have fixed pickleball lines, some have fixed pickleball netting. That's at the extent I know of pickleball. So, website for this is honolulu.gov/parks, plural, /default/park singular -locations, plural. I will put this in the chat as well via Rachel because I don't have chat, but it will be in the chat. And check it out if you are a Mililani person looking to play pickleball somewhere.
Is there any questions for Sabrina and her report? Seeing and hearing none. I'm going to move location. Marilyn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. You already heard about the Trojan Trading Post being open from Representative Matsumoto, but I don't think she did tell you that it is actually a fundraiser actually for the CTE students, and that is the career and technical education students. And most of the gifts that are up for sale there are actually gifts that have been made by some of the students. And some of them are quite nice. We saw them at the SEC meeting last week, and they're really nice. And then I wanted to mention that I got a report from the PCNC at Mililani, and he was here for quite a while. I guess he was waiting to see if I mentioned it, but he's gone. But he sent a nice long report, but I'm not going to go through it all. The Model United Nations students, the Mililani High School Model United Nations team took part in a recent Pacific Model United Nations conference sponsored by the Stevens World Peace Foundation at the Convention Center. And there were 400 delegates from 24 different schools, Oahu, Maui, Kauai, California. Quite a few of our students won awards. And then there's a lot of things on here, but I did want to mention this because there's not much theater in Mililani, but the Central Theater Arts Academy is going to present a play called Hades Town. It's a teen edition presented for 2 weekends at Mililani High School. And teen edition by Aeneas Mitchell shows begin on December 6th at Mililani High School. It's a critically acclaimed musical which invites audiences on a hell-raising journey to the underworld and back. I hope that's not against the OIC or whatever it is. Following the intertwining love stories of young dreamers Orpheus and Eurydice, as well as immortal King Hades and Persephone. So I'm sure you'll want to get tickets for that, and you can go on the website and get tickets, and it's going to be the December 6th, 7th, 13th, and 14th at 7 p.m., and December 14th, 15th at 2 p.m. And you can get the connection from the school office. So the kids need your support, and it's Christmas season, and so it might be hard for a lot of people to get there, but I'll be there because they always do a good job. That's all I have. Here in the cafeteria.
All right, thank you, Marilyn. Members, are there any questions for Marilyn in her report? All right, seeing and hearing none, it is 9:58. I will make the following announcements in the next 2 minutes so we can adjourn on time at 10. Friendly reminder, the Mililani Holiday Parade is this Saturday next Saturday, Saturday, December 7th, 2024 at 9 a.m. The upcoming School Facilities Authority meetings will be on December 17th and 18th, 6:30 to 8:30 at Mililani High School. in the cafeteria. Run for the neighborhood board. Remember that your candidate and voter registration for the 2025 neighborhood board elections begins on December 20th, and you can find that information at the NCO's website. Our next board meeting, we will be in recess in December 2024, so happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Our next scheduled board meeting will be January 22nd, 2025 here in H Building. And this Mililani Neighborhood Board is broadcasted on Olelo Channel Focus Channel 49 every second Thursday, 9 a.m. and Channel 54 every first and third Saturday at 9 a.m. With that, I bid you a happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. And members, we are adjourned till 2025. Thank you.